Welcome back, beautiful goddesses. So today, while I'm recording this, it is the Aries Supermoon. And if you caught my last episode, you were able to find out how this energy of this full moon was going to affect you according to your rising sign. For me, it lands in my house of communication. So I woke up to a massive download and knew that I needed to create this video today. Now, I made sure that I wasn't going to be reactive, right? Because there's no time is wasting. It's just I feel the inspiration and I feel ignited and I'm wanting to bring this forth. So the download I received was confirmation of my avatar. And I talk about this all of the time because we're playing a game. And in order for you to master the game, now we're going to have our challenges, but that's what helps us evolve and grow. But in order to master the game, it's to authentically show up as your unique version. And because when we're born and we let the world dictate to us who we're supposed to be, we lose ourselves. But the truth of the matter is that the day, time, and place you were born, you chose that. And the reason why you chose it is because it's a strategy for how you were going to play this game. And that's why it's important to know your avatar, because when you know your avatar, you know yourself as the player. And for me, I am a visionary archetype. Now, we have a lot of different archetypes in our chart, and we're an accumulation, but I'm focusing on the first house. And that is because this Aries energy is natural placement is the first house. Regardless of where your rising sign is, you're going to feel the energetics of the first house in the house that you have Aries. So I have to go back there and remind myself that my archetype is the visionary, and I see things in the form of like gamification. I take a bird's eye view and I can break things apart. And astrology is that system for me. I'm able to see that there are archetypes within this natal chart that helps us to better understand ourselves and this journey, right? The fool's journey, the hero's journey that we're on. And when you better understand your archetype, then you know that that's why you're here. So it makes sense where if you're feeling lost and you're just like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what my purpose, I don't know what my mission is. But when you understand this, that's when it all comes into place. And so the download or this aha that I received was it helped me because I look at the lens of gamification and puzzles all fitting together. It showed me why I wrote the book that I wrote, why I created the journal that I created, why I created Discover Your Avatar. Now, Discover Your Avatar is in its beta form, so I'm only charging $33 for it. But in that, it's a course, a video course with digital downloads where I talk about the light and dark of each archetype of the zodiac sign and where you're probably giving your power away. So if you can recognize it, the red flag, so you can step into your high value woman era, which is your goddess energy. And why that fits in with everything that's going on right now is because the veil has lifted when it comes to the goddess energy. The divine feminine was pushed down, and we've been living in this patriarchal system of masculinity, and that's why a lot of women are so burnt out, because they've been in their masculine energy. But the divine feminine is your creative flow. And if you're burnt out and you're overworked and you're overwhelmed, you're tapped out with your creativity. But that's what makes us feel alive, because we're all creators. And so it's opening up. The veil is pulling away from why the divine feminine was pushed down. And it was more about the male and female aspect instead of considering the feminine and the masculine aspect, because it's all energy, right? And so this balance is coming back forth. But now that it's coming forth, you really need to understand the avatar of you, why you came here. And, like I said, I'm a visionary and I see things as a game. So I put things together to make sense in a practical way, to teach, to inspire, to share. And that's what this video is about. So going back to the first house and your avatar and knowing your archetype, that's really what's shining a light right now, what Aries is doing, because Aries is about your appearance, your identity, um, your self-esteem, your confidence, how you move in the world, your personality, your characteristics, your traits, where you feel like you have purpose and you're ready to pioneer in something that is from your vision. And that's what's coming through. And so all of this that I've been working on is to pioneer in my vision of what it means to live life as a game. But what I didn't know is that there's quite a few of us out there that do see the world as our life as playing a game. And because of that, um, I thought I pushed it down. I didn't think that this was valuable, right? And what my guides showed me today is that there are a selective few that do understand this, and that's what they're here to create something to share that with others, because we have forgotten. So the date, time, and birth, where you were born, you chose those. So when you took your very first breath, you chose your avatar and you said, okay, this is the avatar of my physical body, but then also the the psychological aspect of who I am, the spiritual aspect of who I am is going to show up through the zodiac signs and their characteristics. And this is how I'm going to move through each area of my chart. Because if you think of your natal chart as a board game and you're moving positions, but you're in tune to who you are as your the token who's playing the game, and your mission and purpose of why you're even going on this fool's journey or this hero's journey, then you can be more strategic, but then also feel more aligned, because this isn't about winning. Okay, this is more about mastering. So your south node is what you mastered in your previous game, but now you're bringing those skills to this game, and then you're learning new skills. So that's what your south node and north node is about. It's like the skills that you learned when you were playing the game, what you mastered in a past life, and then the north node is what you are mastering in this lifetime. And so mine happens to be in Gemini, in the fifth house of self-expression and being on stage, like on camera. And I'm talking, speaking, teaching, writing. It's all connected. And I'm on social media. And because the fifth house is about the stage that you're on, my platform happens to be YouTube. This is the stage that I'm choosing to teach and share practical ways of seeing life, so you don't get overwhelmed, because it is challenging and there are struggles and there are deep learning process. But every time you go through a death and rebirth, you are born a new version of yourself. So really what you're doing is, you were born complete and whole. You knew exactly who you were. You knew all of your skill sets, but you challenged yourself to forget. You're like, I'm going to go into this game. I'm going to forget everything I know about myself. And I'm going to have the challenge is I have to peel off the layers that are blinding me from my wholeness. And it gets uncomfortable. So when you're reinventing yourself or a new light comes through, It is because you peeled off another layer. And so now you're more self-aware. Self-aware is knowing about you. And it's also self-actualization. That's what we're trying to do. And so there is no winning, there is only growth. Because, like I said, what you bring into the next lifetime is going to be on your South Node, and then you're going to have something new to master. So that's where knowing your natal chart is so important, because it's the mystery. So when I think of like the whole pie of what it means to be us, we're in our spirit form, but we decided we wanted to come in because we wanted to experience our emotions. We wanted to experience our senses, and whether they're bad or good, it's just a growth process. So even like the with our hearing, right, that's one of our senses. And with our hearing, we can pick up like sound vibration and frequencies and words and music and stories and nature and pitches. We can hear the difference between nature and mechanical sounds. We can also hear screaming and pain and suffering, because we have to have duality. And then when it comes to our taste, right, we can taste things that are sweet and sour, spicy, um, savory. We can also taste things that are rotten and rancid and um, like a chemical flavor, synthetics. We can tell the difference with our taste. Again, even with our senses, we can taste the bad and the good, the duality. And then when it comes to our sense of touch, right, we can feel soft, we can feel fluffy, we can feel spongy, we can feel hugs, we can feel the physical parts of touching, but then also we can feel things that are prickly, pointy, painful. Um, and so again, we have duality. And when we think of what we smell, right? It's like we can smell things that smell very floral and aromatic and beautiful, but then we can also smell things that are rancid and smell like something is decomposing and and like spoiled. So again, we have duality even with our senses. And then even when it comes to our sense of feeling, right? This is our psychic inner knowing, right? We know our intuition, our knowing, we have our gut feeling, we have compassion, but then also these emotions that come up that we said we wanted to experience, right? We could feel surprise, but we can feel fear. We can feel grief, but then we can feel joy. We can feel regret, but then we can feel love. We can feel anxious and annoyed, but we can also feel contentment. And these are what makes life beautiful. But we push our emotions away because we don't want to feel the heavier side. But we have to feel all aspects. We have to smell, see, hear all aspects, because it's helping us to evolve and to master different levels in our game. And so this really is the game of life. So for me, because I understand this and the way that I see astrology as a self-discovery tool, it's your self-development tool. I want to teach you the practical way, because in my South Node, it was in Sagittarius, which is more of that philosophical character, where it's like it's very aloof and not concrete and very hard to understand what a topic or something you're trying to convey in the world. But my North Node is in Gemini, and Gemini is more about early stages of learning, practicality, um, and really explaining things at a more comprehensive level instead of it being vague. So astrology happens to be the system that I was guided to, because, I talk about Goddess Ishtar guiding me to the stars. And astrology can be very complicated. when you're first getting to know how to read your chart or even understand it. But there is a very practical way of understanding your natal chart and seeing it from a point of view that it's helping you understand yourself and the player you are in your game. I don't read charts at this moment. And the reason why I don't read charts is because I don't want to enable my community to just learn about their chart and then just shove it in a folder on their phone and forget about it, because I want you to learn how to master it so that you can use it as a practical tool for self-discovery in your life, and not just a way just to like have this vanity metrics of knowing yourself. And I know that a lot of people, when they get their charts read, they want to know their career. They want to know who they're compatible with. They want to know about how much money they're going to have. And then all of the other houses they don't really care about. And if you follow me on TikTok, you know that I always talk about how the first 6 houses of your natal chart that are below the horizon are what we're here to master, so that we can be the highest version of ourselves when we conquer the other 6 houses above the horizon. But we jump back and forth from each house because we're trying to find ourselves, and that's because we forgot that we had the cheat sheet, we have the codes, and that is our natal chart. And I'm bringing you back in so that you can remember that you have this beautiful tool that's at your fingertips that is all about you and your unique character, because we've been living our lives so externally that we've detached from ourselves because we're trying to live up to or measure ourselves up to a fake reality. And that's what even Hollywood is. It's a fake reality. These are fake characters. And their real life is not what they play on screen. But we have this way of adopting to somebody else's fake reality and then trying to live up to that expectation. And it's robbing us of our unique experience of why we came here. And that's why this is so important to me, that I express this to you and inspire you to get to know your natal chart. So everyone's natal chart is the accumulation of different archetypes. Archetypes are the characters that you play, just like in a movie where you're constantly changing your role, your wardrobe, the character that you're playing. We have many characters that we've came into this reality to play. We are multifaceted. And so it's not about what you do that makes you feel complete. It is allowing yourself to express yourself in all roles that you chose to show up as. So even in my chart, I have a Libra moon, and I also have a stellium in Virgo. And so I had an interior design business because I love beauty. I also have Jupiter in the 4th house, ruled by Taurus, and Taurus is the sensualist archetype. And so that was one aspect of a role that I chose to play. But now I'm in the role as the teacher. And so it's like your chart is constantly evolving, and you are just learning more about yourself, and you're peeling back the layers that's getting you to your core reason. And I do believe that when you enter into the crone era of your life, you've heard me talk about the maiden, mother, and crone. It's when you really step into mastering, because you're in your legacy, leaving a legacy behind. And not only that, you have a Chiron return at 50. And your Chiron return is this wounded healer that you came here to master so that you can teach others, which mine happens to be in the 2nd house of self-worth. And so I was very disconnected from myself because I didn't think I had value. And that is because I chose to be born into a reality where I was constantly being rejected. And rejection is really a hard emotion to maneuver through, but it causes so much growth when you understand that you just signed up for this emotion. But on the opposite of rejection is love. So you are acceptance. And so you open yourself up to that. But not only that, because I knew that my archetype is a visionary. As a visionary, I'm not supposed to fit in. I am supposed to stand out, and not everybody is going to accept my ideas. Just even the way that I talk about astrology, not everybody's going to accept the way that I view astrology. Another thing that I learned during this full moon energy is Carl Jung has been on my radar. I never knew anything about him until I started studying astrology, and shadow work comes to me really easily, in manifestation and the process of us unfolding to get to self-actualization. I feel like I ate and breathed that topic in a past life because it came in so naturally, even astrology. And when I looked at my natal chart and Carl Jung's natal chart, we are both Aquarius risings. We have a lot of similarities in our chart. So I'm wondering if, because everything is consciousness, I'm wondering if, like, he's not one of my ascended masters that's been helping me on this journey, or if I was somebody that worked with him in a past life. I was a colleague or a student of his, and I'm coming into this lifetime because remember, Sagittarius is where I have my South Node, and it's about higher education. So I could have been a student of his, which is very fascinating for me because the way that I look at astrology is coming from psychology. It's more of self-development. I don't look at it as prediction or horoscopes. I look at astrology as a way for you to better understand yourself, your psyche, your archetype, your hero's journey, your avatar, why you're shedding, why you've detached, your shadow work, because every zodiac sign has a light and dark aspect. And we've been told that the dark aspects of us is bad. And so whenever you're misbehaving, you're playing out your archetype, but then you get punished for it. So there's a lot of things about who you are that you carry on this shame and guilt because you disown those parts of you because you were told they were bad. But even going back to the senses where I was showing you how everything has a bad and good, it's just the experience of it, whether it's smell, taste, hear, or touch. And emotions, they can be positive or they can be negative, but they expand us. So this is what helps you become a player in your game, because you know that it's just a growth process. You don't let it take you out. You don't beat yourself up. You don't disown your authentic code because it's so concrete and you know who you are that there's no denying it anymore. And I want to just share a story with you quickly, even to the point of choosing my family. I was born into, my mother was an immigrant born in France, and my father was in the military. And he signed my birth certificate so I could come to the United States. But my father is a Black man. He was a passing Black man, so he looks like Johnny Mathis. And I constantly had to defend myself. I was rejected by everybody that he was not my father, that my sister was not my sister, that I didn't belong. Even when you think of biracial children, they feel that pressure because they don't feel like they belong with a certain race because either they're too light skinned or too dark skinned. And so I had even a double whammy of not knowing who I was, um, even with my race. So I really chose this path of deep, deep rejection that I really needed to do the inner work to climb myself out of it. But I did finally, at the age of 24, my mom told me the truth. And my biological father is French. And obviously, my father, who I thought was my birth father, is not my birth father. But that's where I'm just sharing that because I want you to know that these challenges that we experience is because we chose those. I don't I think to myself, like, I didn't want to be an outcast. I didn't want people to tell me that I wasn't who I thought I was. I didn't want to have to constantly prove myself. But because of that, I wrapped in all of my value as how I looked externally because I wanted to fit in to, because of the color of my skin. It didn't match up to who I was told I was. And so I learned at an early age that my value was more external than internal. So I've been on this journey because I said that's what I was going to do because my Chiron is in the house of self-worth, of knowing my value. I said, okay, I'm going to go on this journey and I'm going to prove myself until I get so freaking exhausted and realize that I'm valuable just as who I am, that I'm complete and whole, because I've rejected myself for so many years of my life. I didn't think I was pretty enough because my skin wasn't brown. I didn't think that I was accepted because I had been rejected. I got into relationships that proved that I wasn't worthy because I attracted mirrors, right? Because your relationships are mirrors to you to help you see what you are not owning about yourself. So you can see that I had to deal with a lot of rejection. And these relationships I mirrored from like what I saw from my mother, because my mom rejected herself. Because not only that, women in general, even going back to the goddess awakening, we have this witch wound. And the witch wound says that we don't have inherent value just because we're women. And that was enforced through the patriarchal system because of land ownership and wanting to have this hierarchy system where man was on top. So we even had to break this bond of this belief system of the witch wound in order for us to come out and really just have complete self-acceptance. If you saw the image that I drew that my guides showed me in the clouds, it was a picture. It was a witch's hat that I saw in the clouds, and then there was a woman pulling away from the witch's hat, and she had bondage with chains, and then she also had the 8-pointed star here, where it's the star of Venus that was in her belief system. So she was breaking the cycle of Saturn, because Saturn is the father energy of the achiever, and really remembering her beauty and her nature and her alchemy. And I saw that play out in the clouds. And so that's what I etched out through just the vision that came through in the drawing. But this is how the universe is always speaking to us, because the universe wants us to remember. And so this is about diving into your goddess energy and mastering your placement in your natal chart. And that's why, even if you begin with my beta course, where I talk about your sun, moon, and rising and your Venus placement, would be a great place to start to really begin to understand the light and dark aspects of the archetypes of each zodiac sign. And then you can put them together and understand your perfect combination of the archetype that you are, your authentic code of why you came here. And then also the book that I downloaded, and then the journal. Those are 3 things that I created, that my guides guided me to put forth to help you on this journey. And so these mini master classes that I create is to give you more insight to see where you are. So like if you've purchased my book, or you have the journal, or maybe you took my course, leave leave your questions in the comment section, because I'm showing up here to help you with anything that you're being stuck on or you don't understand in your chart. Because like I said, I want to empower you. I don't want to read your chart and then you just shove it away. I want to empower you by giving you how you can utilize it as a self-development tool. Because when you master your archetype, then you understand how you make your money. You understand how you communicate. You understand what gives you state safety and stability. You understand your self-expression. You understand how you're even supposed to take care of your health and your physical body. Because even that came on my radar during this full moon, because like I said, full moon is about Aries. And what showed up for me is color analysis. That was not on my radar. And apparently I thought I was a true summer, and I'm a soft summer. And so soft summers have a cool undertone. So my hair needs to be more like a mushroom tone with a lot of grays and ash. The makeup I wear needs to have the cool undertone. Even the clothes, it's like this color here is very fitting for a soft summer. And what happens is it makes you glow. It makes you feel comfortable in your archetype, because your physical body also is part of you keeping your vibration at a certain level. Even the music, like if you could think, these are things I want to give you before I close out this mini masterclass. If you can think of a time where it brought you the most joy, for me, it is alternative music in the 90s. So I have a playlist and it just brings my vibration up, because it makes me think of a time that I felt so connected with who I am, and there was more joy. But then also it helps you to connect to things in the past, right? Because the past, present, and future are all happening at once. And you can use music, you can use the foods that you eat, you can smell this, the scents that you smell. I hope you're not picking up the noise. There's a landscaper next door. But the smells bring back, right? Because that's why they call it alchemy. Even in the book that I was reading about the alchemy of perfume, they talk about this, that it was very spiritual, because it opens up your remembrance of a certain time or a person when you smell perfumes. um, when you listen to music, like I said, when you taste food, um, also like a touch, like just a certain way that you feel touched by something, can also bring up something in the past. You know, it could be pain or it could be pleasure. And then your intuition is guiding you to really alchemize all of those. And so that's what I want to leave you with is create a playlist of a time in your life, because I do know, like on TikTok, a lot of Gen Xers talk about like how um, they loved that they were born during the years that they had, were the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. So there is music, a playlist that will tap you into that. You're going to remember your pain, but you're going to also remember your pleasure, and you're going to remember what you learned. You are a different version, right? So that's your past version. If you listen to music and let's say you were in a toxic relationship, you had a bad breakup, it can bring up, a song could bring that up, but then your present self can be like, well, I'm in the future now from that past. And who am I now? Did I learn from it, or am I still experiencing my life from that pain? Did I, you know, take off another layer about rejection and then realize that I am good enough and that I am complete and whole? Or am I still looking through the lens of this pain that somebody put on me? And so music can trigger that for you. So that's what I want to leave you with, is find a playlist, get connected with that, and then journal about what's coming up for you. And then look at yourself as the alchemist in your game. You're the scientist, you're the avatar. So it's like, what did you do in the past that you can work on in the present to be more strategic, so that your future changes, because it's all happening at one time. So if you can look at, like, okay, I got hurt in this relationship. I was rejected. I lost myself. But then what did I do? I empowered myself. I reinvented myself. I let go of that layer. I got out of my comfort zone. I moved to a new town. I started a new life. And now in this present moment, what I'm experiencing is far different from that. And I'm not the same person anymore. And because of that, I'm growing. So I know that because I love myself in this moment, that my future self is going to be even better. So this is how you connect everything. I hope this episode, I know it's long, but I hope it was helpful. And like I said, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and hit the subscribe button if you're new here. And I did have some new subscribers over this full moon energy, and I just want to say thank you for being here and believing in me and being a part of my community, because I love what I'm doing now. And I don't want to be talking to crickets. So please leave me a comment and let me know if you're feeling expanded by these conversations. And I'll see you next time.